Okay, so quick update on my signal chain here. I've been making changes, trying to simplify things as much as possible. I changed the order here to accommodate the Intelligent Harmony machine. I'll talk about that in a second. And I decided to finally do a little exploring with different amp captures. In a general way, I don't like IRs. I don't think they sound natural at all. That's just my ear. So the one I'm using here, and I did a video on it, you can find it if you go onto my channel, but I'm using a Bassman model, which sounds really great. And because of the way, I should have connected my phone to this thing so I could illustrate the difference. I added a little noise reduction on there just to keep the line level noise down. Instead of going into the compression first, since I'm not using my fuzz, the only reason I use compression first is because I don't want it to raise the noise floor of my fuzz. So since I'm not using my fuzz, the other issue I was trying to overcome is on the Harmony machine here, what happens is I had it after the compression, which means that the generated note is not getting treated or compressed. So I experimented with a couple different things. I have the Korg TRS power tube reactor. That thing's got some weird line noise going on with it, even though I like that thing. In this application, I couldn't get it to work. I pulled out, I still have my Effectrode PC2A, but I got to set my power supplies up to accommodate it. So I also have this squeeze pedal from Foxgear, which is also an optical compressor. I tried setting that up after the Intelligent Harmony machine, and it worked good, but it took away some of the life. It actually, I might say it worked better than good, but this amp capture that I'm using sounds so good. I don't want it to, I want it as open as possible. So we're going into the Harmony machine, compression, gain, amp modeler, channel 1. And then, I did change this down here too. As you can see, the Soma Cosmos is gone. Now, the reason the Soma Cosmos is gone is really I was just using it for pads. On occasion, you might get in a mood and try something different on it. But man, that was a lot of real estate to hold for a couple pads. So I brought back the Count to 5, which is maybe, as far as ambient stuff goes, my favorite pedal ever. It's such a, even though it's fairly well-known pedal, it's still such a sleeper. I can't believe I don't see more people using these on the various videos. I got some weird silhouette thing going on with my camera today. I'm going to figure out why I'm backlit. In any case, I'll be the mysterious silhouette today. But so I brought back the Count to 5. So that's the second Q send. So what I'm doing is I'm sending that signal coming into, I got to figure out what I'm doing. I'm coming into the Infinity 2 looper, out of that into the Count to 5, out of the Count to 5 into the microcosm, out of the microcosm into the Galaxy, back into channels 5 and 6 over here. So a little bit different. So the reason why the Cosmos came off, this Infinity 2 does the exact same thing that I was using the Cosmos for. This is another one of those ones that, yes, primarily it's a traditional looper, but what you can do is, and there's 2 loops on here, and it's stereo, and it really sounds good. It sounds better than the clone looper, even though, as you can see, the clone looper's back. More than that, you can create an open loop on this at whatever length you want. I can't remember how long a loop you can create on this. I want to say 3 minutes, something like that, maybe longer. But you can let those layers decay, which is exactly what the Cosmos does. And typically I've been making a pad and not using the decay anyway, but I can do that. I can also record my loops at half speed and then double them if I want, or record them at normal speed and cut them in half, which is what I usually do. I haven't even really, I don't really use this as much or use all the features on it, but that's the feature I use. Similar to the Count to 5, it does that one thing that works perfect for my situation. I've gone surprise, surprise, in the microcosm to one of the granule settings because I'm not using any reverb on my direct sound, and I'm not going fully wet in the Q-Sends because I have little effects chains going for both of them. And by the way, this Q-Send 1 is still the same. I'm just going straight into a looper into the Starlight. Again, the Starlight is my rhythmic delay, and then the Galaxy is kind of my the stereo image that this thing creates. Both of them actually, but it's so wide and so beautiful. I don't want any reverbs after it other than you're going to hear a little room reverb I have on the post side of my computer. And the finalization process, I took the phase correction off. I also took the limiter off, and then just was a little more meticulous in setting my levels at each gain stage. And there's a lot of them here. There's too many, which is why I was too lazy to do it. But now it's done. So I should have all my gain levels, which means my average overall volume should be really great. And obviously the tone will be better in this Bassman model from Amalgam Audio, by the way. If you're a Cortex user or a Neural DSP user, or they do Tonex. I've never owned a Tonex, but Amalgam Audio does Tonex models as well. This is my Gretsch. This Bassman apparently, how the hell I got this set up here? This Bassman captures apparently the amp that Brian Setzer used forever. So I'm just gonna do a little. Right now I have it on polyphonic mode and setting 11, which is a fifth up, and an eighth, or which is an octave. This thing doesn't, when I have it in, let me see if I can make an example of it. All right, so let's go into, we'll just go into E minor. E minor, and then we're gonna do a 6. That's kind of the harmony I like. For instance, right here it tends to get confused sometimes. See how that's confusing? It should be. But I like to do a little shrill thing. I like to hold those two notes, and it doesn't work with this. So I'm going to have to learn to play a little different. I just got to not hold those two notes. So that's an instance where this thing doesn't track too terribly well. But all that harshness is gone now that I've got it in front of the compression. It does harmonize well, though. I like it. Now again, E minor is the same as G major, so again, probably don't want to do a 6th if I'm holding the chord. So what do we got here? I want to go, 5th. On that note, notice what you don't hear is there's no noise. That noise gate works pretty good. Finger movement, very nice. There we go. Wakes it up if I need it to. All right, so I'm going to turn the mic off here unless I think of anything else to speak to it. I just want to do a quick update on this, even though we're already almost 10 minutes in. And then do a little jam. So here comes a little jam. Let's go G major. I've been doing a lot of minor stuff lately. quantized. Now I've got it octaves and fifths on the count to 5. And the only reason I note that is you might have been inclined to think it was the harmony machine not doing its job, but it's doing its job just fine. I just am an idiot. Alright, now I'm going to create an open loop for another layer of pad. Drop it down to half speed and really fill out that frequency range. The nice thing about this setup is I don't have to be concerned with the mix other than as dense as I make it myself, which is actually not that dense, so I should be able to play over this. Maybe I'll do a little rhythm thing here just to make sure everything's working good together. Noise gate is not handling the transients there very well. Let's see how that translates in the recording. quantized to E minor. Let's go over to relative major since I'm playing in major. So I'm going to go over to G major. We're going to stay in the same sixth. Let's see if it picks the same notes, just for fun. Probably just in my head, but it sounds a little sweeter when it's set to G major instead of set to E minor, which is the relative minor, on the sixth at least. Let's go to the octave and the fifth and see what it sounds like. Mess with the mix a little bit. I don't like too much of that artificial notes in there, but it really does add something when you get it right. I like the sixth better. It's a little sweet. You get fifths in there and I start to get annoyed in a general way. But having said that, let's try just an octave. Octave up, and by the way, I'm on both pickups on the Gretsch. I know a lot of people set themselves up for bridge only. I got nothing against bridge. However, if you set your EQ up to just your bridge pickup, if you go to the middle, by the time you get to the neck position, you're probably not very balanced EQ wise. If you EQ your signal chain to both pickups, you can flex in either direction a little more readily. So that's my general way. So right now I'll switch to my bridge pickup with that octave up, and it should not be too harsh. That half step the harmony machine doesn't quite understand. do a, so we got octave down bridge pickup. In much nicer than the other two settings. Alright, so no more gain. Let's go over to neck pickup just because I don't think I have been on the neck yet. Sound better than anything. I got to work on whatever I'm using for my gain. Let's go to both pickups in the clean. Bridge pickup. Let's see how glassy we can get it. All right, there we go. Another quick shakedown. Still just more than the effects. I'm trying to get the. This is all of this is because in my new setting here, I gotta have the headphones on if I want to make some noise instead of my amp sitting back there. Getting real close. When I listen back to feeling like I recorded something in the room. It's not easy to do, but I'm finding that this is one of the most basic pedal boards I've done, but I think the answer was really having a small console here. And maybe it's just because I have a lot more experience with recording than live setups. Because effectively here, it looks like a pedal board, which is a live thing, but this is set up like a little home studio with two effects loops without board gear. So you've got core tone across the top. You've got, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, delay. And then you've got all of my kind of, I don't know, pad and looping stuff. There isn't a lot going on here, but it's the way in which I'm sending the signal through and the control that I have at each gain stage. And compression for that matter. I have compression at a couple different stages. It's really a matter of knowing when to take something out and when to turn something off more than add something in. It's always a subtractive thing, especially when you're trying to get the biggest, spaciest sound of all time. The stereo image on these two is the best stereo image that I've heard on anything. You could say I've had better sounding delays or whatever, but when it comes to the stereo image that it's creating here, that kind of creates that mood or sucks you in or whatnot, however you define that, inspiration, whatever it is, the Galaxy especially, but the Starlight as well, the way they implemented, Universal Audio implemented the stereo image on this made me kind of wipe the slate clean and try and build something around those stereo images, because it's outstanding. And then the other key one is the Nano Cortex. Everything else I think is maybe more to taste. With the Nano Cortex, I resisted kind of searching amps because I didn't want to get option paralysis. I intentionally deleted all my other presets on here. I'm just going to live with this Bassman capture for a while and see which direction it draws me, because Amalgam Audio has some really nice Marshall captures that if I don't watch it, I'll get myself sucked into it. But at some point, I'm probably going to create some, instead of having this on here, instead of having any gain on here, or even fuzz, I'm going to try and create, because there's effectively 4 channels here that are completely customizable on capture and cabinet and gain level. So I'm going to create some dirty settings at some point here. I'll have to listen back and see what my thought is on the noise reduction. It feels like it's breathing a little bit to me, which I'm not a fan of. So I might just live with a little higher line noise and then just pretend it's lo-fi, which I guess technically it is. It's not replicating lo-fi, it's literally line noise, which is what a lot of those pedals replicate anyway. So having said that, hopefully you got some ideas, or at least got an idea of what I'm doing next. The other thing I've been toying with is really talking about what music theory I draw on when I'm just jumping in and improvising like this. I've had a couple of people ask about, my music, quote unquote. There's no music here, I'm just improvising, but I am using, some of my music theory knowledge to just allow me to play all the right notes, or maybe not all the right notes, but not play any wrong notes. So I don't know, maybe I'll talk about, my language I have for this setting as well, because when it comes to creating moods and things, hang on, let me calm this baby down here a little bit. When it comes to creating moods, there's some simple things I do to create different moods, and it all revolves around knowing your modes in position, relative major, relative minor, stuff that's not too hard to add to your vocabulary, or not something you don't even have to practice. It's really just something where you adjust your position. Most of you, I would assume, know at least one major and one minor scale and one pentatonic scale. I've been thinking about doing a couple videos to connect those common knowledge things to how the modes connect together, and maybe just start to connect the dots. The pentatonic scales live inside the modes. Once you make that connection, then you can start to connect the modes to each other, because the modes are all interconnected. Depending on which mode you're playing, just all the other modes shift along with whatever mode you're using in your root. For this setting, I don't get into progressions. I don't get into any of the chordal stuff, because one, with all this effect going on, it gets real dense and real messy real fast. So there's an intentional non-use of progressions for getting in the way I do, having a lot of fun, feeling satisfied, and getting out without spending a lot of time. What are we at? We're almost 34 minutes here. This is actually about twice as long as I usually spend, partly because I have a little time right now, but secondly, I'm usually satisfied after 10-15 minutes. Get in, set things up, make sure levels are right, pick up whatever guitar is catching my eye that day, and then just go ready, set. Just as a friend of mine used to say, throw everything up in the air and see how it lands. And again, you can use some basic music theory knowledge and some basic knowledge. You don't have to expand your knowledge too much to really, create something that's really satisfying for yourself. And another intentional thing I do in this setting is I don't use a pick. Every time I grab a pick, I start to just drop into practicing, and that is not what this is about, at least this channel or this part of my musical day. This is about just simply having fun, not playing at the limit of your ability. That's another big pitfall for anybody in music, if you ask me. You're always trying to stick yourself at the limit of your ability. That's something for practice. You can move the bar, so to speak, while you're practicing. But this exercise requires you to not play at the limit of your ability. And other areas of your musical palette grow as a result of that. If you're not constantly sticking yourself at the edge of your ability, if you draw way back from the edge of your ability, there's a lot of room to explore because you're not battling the physical side of it, I guess. You'll learn how to maybe intonate a chord better or bend a note in pitch, simple things. Or you'll learn, for instance, the only reason I'm using this rhythmic thing, yes, I like the Edge, but I'm not a huge U2 fan. They've had some amazing albums, but in a general way, I'm using these rhythmic delays because I realized how bad I was getting at timing by not using them. If you look at my early videos, I wasn't using rhythmic delays, and without using a drum machine or anything, again, that's going to require more time for me to get in and out real quick. The rhythmic delays just help keep me from getting really sloppy. And at this point, I don't think I'm going to ever play live or be in bands again, but you still have to maintain some semblance of ability to hold a rhythm. But in any case, that's a little bit of what I've been going for with this setup, and I'm feeling really good about where I'm at with this recording direct thing. So there you go. I've babbled on for a few extra minutes, but I think it's all valuable stuff. It's all fun. It doesn't require you to be better than someone else, which is a real irritation when it comes to music. Music has this strange way of dividing people. It should be bringing people together for all the right reasons. All music is good. I don't care what kind of music it is, whether it's a bunch of kindergartners playing kazoos or, some teeny bopper watching Taylor Swift, or some hardcore guy watching Steve Hillage explore some random, abstraction he's created, or, whatever, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and blah, blah, blah. It's all good. All good. So whatever you're trying to achieve, hopefully I'm giving you some ideas at this point, because somehow I'm getting close to 300 subscribers. I originally just started doing this channel so a couple buddies of mine across the U.S. could see what I'd just been messing with, and all of a sudden here I am with almost 300 subscribers, so that's kind of cool. Maybe at some point I'll try and contribute a little more than just my random jams, but in any case, thanks for watching. I'm amazed if you made it this far into the video, but in any case, have a good one.